Hey, hi friends, welcome back to Bhau-Automation Lab once again. And in this online video session series, let's understand what is mean by the API testing, what is mean by API automation, and how we can do the API automation using RestAssured and Java. Okay, all this session list will understand all this concept practically, theoretically, everything. Okay, so watch all these lectures very carefully to understand what is mean by API and how we can do the API automation using RestAssured and Java. Okay, so before starting with the API automation, we need to understand something about the API. Okay, so let's start with the API. What is mean by API and what is use of that particular API in the real-time world and every organization. Okay, basically all the organization always use the API concepts to reduce the code reusability and save the time and efforts. Okay, so first let's understand what is mean by the API. So here API stand for the application programming interface. Okay. So what is mean by this application? So application is the set of bunch of code of software developed. It's called as the application. Here is the programming is something like a source code. Okay, which is the program or software is underdeveloped, and interface is the something like the bridge between that the communication with the application. It's called as the interface. Okay, so it is a set of rules that allow two software application to talk each other. Okay, what is mean by the application API? It's a set of rules that allow two software application to talk each other, and let's say think of an API as a messenger that send a request from the one application to another application and bring back the response to the user. Okay, simple. So this is called as a API. So let's take an example of this API in the simple word. Let's say let's understand this is the application one. Okay, and this is the application two. Okay, this application totally developed in this different code, and whenever this application send the request to this particular application 2, he will get that application request and he will send the response back to the application 1. Okay, to communicate with these two different application, we have to write a one interface code which call as a API. Simple. It's stand for the application programming interface. For example, here we have taken the example of API messenger. So he will write some message and send the message to this application 2, and he will get the that message data and send response back to the application again. These are one. So communicating with this application, if this two application develop in this different languages or different code, so to communicate with these applications, this the bridge between this application, it's called as a API. We have developed the simple interface simple code that's called as a API. It stand for application programming interface. Simple. Now let's understand why exactly we do use of APIs. Okay, so APIs makes it easier for the application the exchange the data and work together without needing to understand each other's internal code. For example, here we not required to understand what is this application is developed in code and which code this application is developed. We not required to understand anything. We can directly connect with this application and exchange the data using our this interface code. It's called as a API. Simple. And they save the time and make development faster. Okay, so how they save the time and make a development faster? Let's take one example. Let's say one real-time example of the application. Okay, for example, I will open amazon.com in my Chrome browser. Let's understand. So here I just want to purchase this keyboard. Okay, and one developer is working on this is the listing page of Amazon, right? So this is the one e-commerce website, and one application is working on this listing page. One developer is working on this listing page, and he is doing add to cart from here, right? Another developer is working on this product detail page. So this is the keyboard where another developer is working, right? Let's understand. Okay, and let's say take the example of this product is not available on product detail page. Okay, so one developer is working on this product detail page, right? So he's doing the add to cart from this product detail page as well, right? So I have added so one developer is working in the listing page. I have added this product from the listing page and also the product detail page. Okay, so both the developer develop this code and he wants to do add to cart. Okay, so it's not required to write the add to cart functions or code here for this listing page as well and this product detail page as well, right? So whenever this developer required the to do add to cart, he will just call this add to cart API. Okay, and whenever we required to do the add to cart for this listing development developer, he will also just call the add to cart API from here. Okay, so it will save the time and develop, it's make a development more faster. Okay, so that is the main use of developing APIs. Simple. So it will reduce the code, it's a reusability of code, and the bunch of code which can be whenever we require, we just call that code and use that functionality. Okay, it will save the time. So what is the functions? So functions are reusable blocks of the code that can be used multiple times, saving the time and efforts, avoiding and writing the same code repeatedly, as I explained here. Okay, the same way the function will get works. So we have developed the two functions, which is called on the API, which can whenever we require on the listing page or the PDP page, we can just call that function. Simple. So it will like save the huge time and make a development more faster. Okay, so let's understand that API in the real-time example as well. In the previous, lots of previous session, I have already explained you software is the real-time entity. Whenever you understand any concept through the programmatically, you have to understand this that concept in real world as well, so that it will be fit in your mind and you can understand what is mean by the API very clearly. Okay, so let's understand. Let's assume that, okay, imagine you are in at the restaurant and you as the user want to order food. Okay, here you are, you as the user, the waiter, you can consider waiter that is as API, takes your order and go to the kitchen. Okay, here kitchen is like we can think like a server and bring back the food or data to you. Okay, in the simple way, here waiter is like an API. Okay, connect you as a user and kitchen as a server system. Simple. Let's understand through easily through this image example. Here you are as a client, you are going to the restaurant and requesting some food to this API as a waiter. Okay, here API waiter is considered as an application programming interface. He will go take your request and go to the API as a server, API server, where this bring your and he will get that food for you. Okay, it's bring back to you and get the response to you and get food back to you. Okay, so here this waiter is work like a API. This is the client request and this is the server, okay, which is giving back to you the response. So there are two applications communicating with each other using this API. For example, this client has one application and this is the server as another application. Hope you understand in the real world concept as well what is meant by the API. If you have any question related to this, you can simply ask me in the simple way. Okay, I will give all the answers related to this. Okay, now let's understand what is API documentation. This is very important part. While any developer developed any API, we have to develop the API documentation. Okay, so why this API documentation is required? Because API documentation is a manual guide that explain that how to use that API. For example, if some developer in any organization, let's say there are lots of developers are working, okay, working in the one same company, right? For example, thousand of developers is working in the one same company, or anyone from that is develop some API and someone which not aware about that API and he wants to use that API. Okay, so using that documentation part, he can understand easily what is that API is developed by that another guy. Simple. So here, whenever we develop the any API, we have to create a one API documentation for it. Simple. So here API documentation is like define a key role to understand what is exactly that API does. Okay, so let's understand it's provide the developer with the necessary details about all the API, such as for example endpoints. If this is the GET API, then what is the endpoint of that API, or what is the endpoint of that post request of that API? Whatever. Whenever you develop the API, we require to define as an endpoint of that URL. Also we required to define some like methods related to the API, like GET, what type of API it is. We'll understand what is mean by this GET, post, put, delete, everything, and step by step all the lectures. So first we'll understand what is the method request for that API. Is it GET request, post request, put request, or delete request? All these are the All these are the methods which we are using in the API. What is the API input parameters required for that particular API? What type of response that API will be given, which is in JSON format or the XML format. Okay, any error codes handling in error codes or messages we define in that API. All details we need to define in this API documentation part. Okay, so why is API documentation important? As I already explained you, it's help developers to understand how to integrate that API and ensure the correct uses of that API. And it's save the time during the development and does the development very smoother and faster. Hope you understand what is meant by API in the simple world, real world, and what is meant by this API documentation. All these are theoretical part. Okay, so whenever we work on the practical, we will get everything and understanding step by step all these things. What is meant by get, post, put, delete, and how this JSON XML format, like response format, will we will get. Okay, so that's it in this lecture. Next lecture will let's understand what is mean by web services. Okay, so till time, have a great day. Bye bye. Take care.